Hi, everybody. Matt Yankovic, head of open source strategy at Scarf, and I'm here to talk to you about how to use Scarf to track who is clicking links in your posts on social media or in blogs. I don't know if you knew this, but Scarf has the capability to track not only packages like Docker images or zip files, NPM packages, Python packages. It can also track links. And so I am using today Scarf as a link shortener for certain URLs that are outside of my normal ecosystem. And I'm going to be including them in social posts on LinkedIn or Twitter or elsewhere. And we're going to see what sort of details and information we can get. Why is this useful? Well, if you're in DevRel, for instance, you might have a lot of content that is spread throughout the internet, and you might want to figure out where people are coming from who are clicking on that links, or you might want to compare which DevRel engineer is getting the most clicks or has the most reach, or which channels are the most important for you in promoting your content. This helps aggregate this in one place. So let's take a look at how this works. Okay, we're going to do some links to certain pieces of content through Scarf and show you how to set these up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and click create a new package. Now, you can see there's different things that you can track within Scarf. You can track Docker containers, files, packages, NPM, or Python. So there's different types of things you could track, but for this purpose, we're going to do files. Files can be a website. It could be anything that just has a URL. So S3 bucket, whatever. So in this case, package owner is going to be the organization that I had created for this, which is my test Matt Yonk. And I am going to create a package for each podcast directory that I want to promote. All right. So in this case, we'll do Apple podcasts and my file location, since I've done this a couple of times, will be the podcast Apple. And in terms of domain, you can use the Scarf domain, but since we want to make this a link shortener, what we're going to do instead is we're going to actually use my um, own personal domain, and I can show you how to set that up in a different one. So the desired path. Now, here's where we've got some options. Now, obviously, I can do like /Apple, which makes total sense here. And then that way, anybody who goes to l.hosbp.com/Apple will get my Apple podcast link. So let's do that. But I'm going to do something else here in a second. So now I've got my Apple set up to go to this guy, which is cool. But now what I need to do is I'm going to add another route. All right. And I'm going to still use the Apple path. Okay. And I'm still going to go to the same place. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add basically what is a UTM here. Okay. Or you could call it an ID, you could call it a version, you could call it whatever. But this is going to be just something that if I want to pass back to this, I can use as a flag so I can get analytics. This is a really good way to do things like potentially pass in a username. So if you've got multiple DevRel people who are all submitting content and you want to track whose content is being, clicked on the most, or, which shares the most relevant, you could use this to just say like, oh, we'll do /Apple/Matt /Apple/Avi /Apple/John. And then when we look at Scarf's graphs, it'll show how many links were downloaded, files were downloaded, or things were clicked specifically from those people in their posts, which is kind of a cool thing to do. So I'm going to put that as UTM. Okay. So now I have set up the Apple link here. So now everybody can go to l.shohb, go to Apple. And if we want to take a look at that just to make sure it's working, it should be working right now because I already set up the domain. And if I click yes, boom, look at that. And so we now have Apple Podcast set up. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to set up the Google Podcast links. So again, we're going to choose File. We're going to choose, I still want it under my organization. I'm going to call it Google Podcast. And I am going to use the podcast.google one. I'm not going to use the Scarf Gateway. I want to use my own. And so now my desired path is I'm going to set up /Google. Okay, so there we go. We can also put some extra descriptions here, but I'm not going to bother with that right now. Awesome. And if I go to my package, I want to create another route because I also want to do /Google. And this time I'm going to do the kind of like the UTM thing again. Don't really care what I call it. I'm just using it to track it. And then, of course, I'm going to go here. So if I do a / and put any sort of like tag behind it, then I can classify it, watch it in the future. And I think I should be good to go there. All right. And now I'm going to go back to my packages. I'm going to add the Spotify package. So we're going to do Spotify podcast. And I'm going to do my file location to Spotify. I'm once again going to use my short link. And I'm going to do /Spotify. And there we go. Okay. And once again, though, I'm going to go into there and I want to set it up so I can pass in a variable in case I want to track some information later on. And while this isn't truly a UTM, it is a reasonable substitute for us. And then / and then we'll do UTM again. And then we'll do /Spotify. I did that. There we go. So Spotify. Okay. Now there's something I want to try with YouTube, which is a little different. Okay. So the YouTube URLs typically are something like YouTube / and then a variable. We should be able to pass in that variable so we can actually link to separate videos using one route, which is kind of interesting. So let's take a look at this. So let's go back to my tools. I'm going to create another package here. So I got Apple, Google's, and this. I already have a YouTube video one. So I set that up earlier, so I don't need to go back into there. But here's YouTube with specific links to episode 13. So this is specifically for one clip that I did earlier. And so if you take a look at those, that makes sense. I've got the IDs there. But what I really want to do is instead of that is I'm going to go back and I'm going to do a new package and I'm going to call it the super YouTube package right now. All right. And so the file location is going to be YouTube, but instead of passing in YouTube and then the one file, which is going to be that clip that I was using earlier, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do video name. Okay. And so this should be able to be used if I do / this is L dot. So our desired path here would actually be / video name. We're going to do YouTube / video name. Okay. So now what I should be able to do is use LHOSB, YouTube, and then that video name to pass it in. Let's see if it works. Okay, so go to my package. Okay, so this is what I should be able to do. Okay, so I'm gonna go get the latest, greatest video here from my account, which has this unique URL link. So for here, I'm going to replace video name with my URL shortener and look at this. Fingers crossed, everybody. Look at that. This is a video. So now what I can do in YouTube is instead of creating a video or a link per episode or per YouTube link that I wanted, I could pass in the specific identifier for that particular video. Okay. Now, um, because this 5LU6XQ5MRBK is not going to be easy to remember, especially when you're looking at analytics to see what it is. What I probably want to do here is not only pass that down, but let's add another route. Okay. And so we're going to do that /YouTube video name. And then I'm going to do just that UTM type code again, which again, this will just help us pass some extra information back from Scarf here. So we can analyze which ones came out. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing. So YouTube/video name, but I'm just going to drop off that UTM because that doesn't mean anything in this context. Okay, so we created the video with my fake UTM. It's not really a UTM, like I said, but it's just an identifier. And so if I wanted to say, for instance, the Hoss is the person who sent this, what I would do is I would go into a new browser, and you can see here that the link is my shortener YouTube, and then this is the unique identifier. And for this case, we've got the Hoss, so this could be the UTM, or this could just be something as interesting as episode 17. And if we click on that, that will then send it over. Okay, so let's take a look at the analytics here for my super YouTube that I just created. So remember, we set this up so we can either go directly with the video name with the unique identifier for the video, or I can go with whatever identifier, UTM, whatever you want to call it. Um, let's go ahead and let us look at the analytics. So in this case, I've hit this 6 times. I'm all coming from the same place, so it just counts me as one in the unique, but that's okay. I'm on a Windows platform right now. Don't judge me. And you can see that we don't have the other metrics yet because that takes a bit to catch up. But you can see that the download numbers are here. So downloads for UTM. Okay. And so you can see episode 17. So that is what I just set as my quote unquote UTM. So I can see that that was downloaded once. Or I can see that the video name, so that unique identifier that I put here, um, it has been downloaded 5 times because I was playing with it. And same thing with, I actually named it Test Me at one point. So you can see that if you wanted to check either based on that identifier or the video name, you can. Now, the thing that you can't do right now is you can't combine these two, which is I guess, a bit limiting. Because if you wanted to use an identifier that says this came from Matt, versus this came, or this specific video came from Matt, that would be an issue. So in order to do something like that, you would need to set up a package for each of the videos or assets, blogs, whatever, and then use the identifier for that one. So you can kind of take your, take your choice here. You could do an individual package for each video, asset, blog, whatever, and then you would be able to identify um, what blog it is, as well as whatever identifier you passed in. However, if you wanted to use something like this super YouTube link that I created here, which allows you to use the same link and collect all of the YouTube um, shares that you do in one package and get them all aggregated to see how effective your social strategy is in promoting your videos, or who's potentially clicking on them. You could use this where you use the variable as the unique identifier. Um, and that would get you this, but then you lose the ability to basically split that video name and some other identifier. So uh, there is that. Hey, everybody. So we're back. It's been a couple days since we actually set up those packages to track our clicks in LinkedIn and Twitter. And so we now have some results, some data that we can look at. And if you recall, we set up a couple of different packages. We set up a super YouTube package, which allowed you to pass in a variable, which was the unique identifier for the video. We also set up a YouTube video that was for a specific video that was locked into one video. And then we set up podcast links to look at the individual podcasts and see who is clicking into them. So we now have some data. And so if we wanted to take a look at this and see what it looked like, we can come into our super YouTube package and we can see that we had 124 clicks or downloads into that particular video on YouTube, or into a video on YouTube. And 48 of them were from unique sources. So, we reached 48 people with that particular video, or these particular videos that were tracked. And we can see that there were some bots here. So those are things we're going to have to take into account. But we can also see that when we passed in that unique identifier, we have episode 17 scarf and episode 17 scarf LinkedIn. So I can see, because I passed in the scarf, I should have used dash Twitter, but I didn't. That was my fault. But we could see that 75 people clicked in through Twitter and then 6 from LinkedIn. Now, from a Twitter perspective, I think Twitter might be auto playing and then counting that as a link click, but I'm not sure. I have to dig into that a little bit more, because 75 is actually quite high. And it's not registering on YouTube as a video play. So that's an interesting thing, where the link is coming up, but it's not registering as a video play. And I don't know if that's going to be the case if somebody plays it in the embedded. It generally shows up as a view. So there might be something weird here just on how we set that up. So I'll have to dig into that. But you can also see where we passed in the specific video name, we can get aggregates on the video name. So there were 2 separate videos, and these are the unique identifiers for YouTube for those videos. So we can get those. If we wanted to see which countries these came from, we can see that the videos that we played were popular in Germany. Hey, Germany. And then the US, with a few in Canada, France, Finland, India, Brazil. So a few there. If we wanted to get an export of the events, we can. So that will get us a export of these events, which we could take a look at. And so here is all of the data, and we could use this to load into whatever analytics system we want to use to potentially dig a little bit deeper into who's clicking, when they're clicking, and where they're coming from. So that could be helpful if you're interested in that. Now, said we also set up the YouTube video to go directly to a specific video. This one is for episode 13, a clip from an episode with Ian 10 from Mattermost. And here I actually passed in on one of the links my own personal ID, which is the Hoss. So my Hoss promotion generated 13 specific clicks out of 39. So the other 26 came from somewhere else. And so if there was another DevRel person or someone else who was promoting that same content, we could then see, oh yes, their promotion did a little bit better, or it came from this other channel, if you will. So that's kind of cool and interesting. Now, we also did podcast links. So we'll do like Apple Podcasts, who clicked into the Apple Podcasts. And you'll notice that most of the graphs, they have this really big bell curve. And the reason for that is most social is very short lived. So we're using these links in social to just drop it. And so whatever the life of the tweet is, which generally is very short, or LinkedIn post, that's where you'll see most of that traffic. And so you'll see that, for Apple Podcast links, click-ins, it was 31 with 17 unique clicks. So a couple of people might have clicked twice, or there might have been some bots, mostly from the US, a little bit from the UK and Italy. But we can see where those came from as well. And if we wanted to look at the clients, we should be able to see bots. So Combat, Unknown, Google Bots, Media Toolkit, those are all bots there that are coming in, and checking out that link and then doing their thing. So that is a quick overview of what the package details will do and how you can potentially use those to look at where data is coming from, where your clicks are coming from, and who potentially is driving the clicks. So if you're interested in checking out how Scarf enables this, sign up for a free account. It's free. You can use it. It's unrestricted. You can create a couple of packages, point them to videos, point them to packages, point them to Docker containers, point them to anything that you want to get a little bit more granular on who is potentially accessing and downloading, and try it out. Let me know how it goes. And if you do try one of the techniques that I showed you, let me know if there's problems. I'd love to talk to you, figure out if there is something we can do better. And until next time, thanks for watching.